But I forgot exactly where I was.
On the,
Oh,
on the
when we get on the
stage.
scoring stage, you know, it's really intense for any composer. You have 100 pieces, 7 hours. You're trying to get huge. It's like what a director is going through on a tight schedule, trying to get a very difficult shot with 100 extras, hundreds, thousands extras. You know, like all coordinated, trying to get that shot. It's really intense. So I think he enjoys the fact that all the intensity of it is off of his shoulders and it's all on mine. He just gets to sit back there and listen.
And let's been talking about how wild you get on a scoring stage. Share the stories of things you wear and the Eric von Stroheim outfits. Are any of that true? Things I've read about you, with what you deal with people on a scoring stage in a fun way, how fun he gets on a stage?
I don't know what you've heard, so I couldn't tell you what's true. I mean, I've had a lucky bullwhip that I've kept with me for many years. And, you know, it's kind of like my teddy bear, I suppose. It's a bullwhip that one of the percussionists gave me a long, long time ago. And a funny thing on the percussionist that I've had on every score I've done in LA is a guy named Emil Richards. So he's been there since Pee-wee's Big Adventure to Planet of the Apes, and he was the percussionist who improvised and played a lot of that great percussion with Jerry Goldsmith on the original. And so I thought that was pretty wild. And he was one of the percussionists that played with Lalo Schifrin in Mission Impossible, the TV theme. So but on this one I had to apologize. I said, look, you got to do so much stuff with Jerry on the original. You had all this time to like fool around, and I'm doing all the percussion, and I'm so sorry. You know, you're gonna hate me. It's like I'm doing all the fun stuff on this one. But he did make it through from the first one to the new one, which is great. But the bullwhip, it's not true that I picked one of the attractive violists or cellists out of the ensemble and strap her between two of the big mic booms naked and whip her in front of the orchestra as a disciplinary action, as I've heard.
Okay, good. All right. Put that rumor to rest.
Yeah.
Just lastly, just how comfortable you feel with your place kind of in the echelons of film composers now that this is kind of taken on a life well beyond the band. The years you've been doing this now, or I think have eclipsed your years doing what you've done before, or at least equal.
Yeah, it's almost, yeah.
Yeah. So just what does that feel like for you now at this point in your career to kind of reach where you've reached, and how much of that do you think about in terms of your own career and place and
I think about moving on. I don't like doing anything too long. Film composing for me is a great part-time job. It doesn't work for me as a full-time job. And since after '96, you know, when the band, because I split the year each for 10 years, composing and touring and doing albums. And for about 3-4 years, I started doing, it was just harder to say no. Suddenly I couldn't say no, because my big excuse for not doing more than 2 films a year was that I was on the road or in the studio doing an album or whatever. Suddenly I couldn't say no, and I started doing like 5 films a year, and that was too much. So now the last 2 years I've kind of trimmed it back. I think it's perfect doing a couple of films a year for me, and then doing lots of other stuff.
Mm-hmm. When you think of like your name Elfman next to, you know, Herman and Goldsmith and stuff like that, do you think about things like that in your place in musical history, where it'll be in 10 years from now?
No, I can't think about that, you know, because first off, you know, I don't think I hold a candle to, you know, Herman or Goldsmith, just my own perspective. But, you know, especially Bernard Herrmann, who was my idol, and if it wasn't for Herman, I wouldn't be composing, because he's the composer who made me aware of film music when I was only 11 years old, 10, 11, somewhere in there. My favorite movies would have 2 names on them, H and H, Herman and Harryhausen. Harryhausen was an animator, so if they had Bernard Herrmann and Ray Harryhausen animation, I knew it was going to be the best film of the year. You know, that was like Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and Jason and the Argonauts, stuff like that. So I grew up on those films, and his music really inspired me. And I'll never be what he was. You know, he was to me like a god. So I can't compare myself in his league. How I'll be perceived, you know, later, who knows? If you start thinking about that, you just start taking yourself too seriously, and I think it's detrimental, damaging.
Mm-hmm. You're looking forward to directing features though, and branching out that way?
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely want to score some of my own. You know, I want to ruin my own film for a change instead of somebody else's.
Very good. Okay, Danny. Pleasure.
Thanks.
Pleasure talking to you.